Hey everyone, it's Ride1940 here. Today we're taking a look at Sea Power Naval Combat in the Missile Age, and this is going to be a tutorial that you guys asked for about Sonobuoys. So I've already got an ASW helicopter tutorial, and some of that stuff that I'm going to talk about is also what I'm going to talk about today. But the main question is kind of, how do you know what sort of pattern to use? And obviously I can't talk to you guys about real life patterns because I'll go to jail and I don't want to do that. And also it's not really my job as a sonar tech. We don't deal with sonobuoy search patterns. There's a whole group of people that work with the ASW helicopter, so the sonar techs can just focus on what the buoys are actually picking up and kind of analyze them, as well as the helicopter crew. They can do that too. But anyways, we're going to go through what I think is appropriate for the game, and a big one is I'm going to answer the question like, where the heck do you know where to put those buoys? Where do you even know where to search? And this is a great example mission of this, because you don't know where the submarines are at. In fact, there's no briefing, so you got nothing to go on, except we know this waypoint is out here, so we can infer that the mission designer has probably put the submarines somewhere along this to create conflict that we'll run into them and have to fight them. So with that in mind, we are going to treat this as kind of like this hostile transit that we need to go to the finish line over here. So to do that, I'm going to do something I've done in a previous mission, but if you guys have seen that already, then you're ahead of the curve. But we know in this game, in this particular mission, that we're going against Charlie submarines. So they have a waycombing torpedo that goes 10.3 nautical miles. It's the 5365. That is the only anti-surface torpedo that they carry. They have a couple of ASW weapons, and then they also got anti-surface missiles that they can fire. But these are the only torpedoes that we're worried about. So I'm going to just draw out a lane, and that lane is going to be where I need to make sure there's no submarines. I don't particularly care if I'm making this parallel, and let's actually just maximize this and talk about it. So if a submarine is within these bubbles, then they can hit these ships, right? So let's get rid of the bubbles now that we've done that. And so this means as long as a submarine stays out of this swath here, then as we transit, we can't get shot at, because we're simply out of the range of the torpedoes that can hit us. Okay, if a submarine is in here and we traverse down this line, eventually we're going to be in range of those torpedoes, and we need to make sure that we're not. So now we know that we need to clear this whole swath out. It's pretty big. So if you want to make this smaller, what you can do is make your formation tighter, but there's a trade-off, right? Because our ships will have their own sonars that we're also using to kind of search out the submarine. In fact, in this mission, we'll probably detect the submarine with our ship first, and I'll show you how to prosecute a submarine with the sonobuoys that the helicopter has, as well as build out our pattern here. So we can go ahead and launch our aircraft. The Estosin will have 2. Let me make sure I double click on that guy. Good. So we'll launch that one, and then we'll also set this one to launch. Okay, and then we'll pick this up when all 3 helicopters are up. And what's going to happen is I'm going to, well, before they even come up, I can talk about what I'm going to do here. I work with a 5 nautical mile bubble for what I space out my buoys with. It's not necessarily true that I'm going to get contact all the time with the DIFAR buoy at 5 nautical miles, because the environment changes in each mission, going mission to mission. Even sometimes within the mission, you get weather changes, which are really neat, and so the ranges could be reduced or they can be further than that. I just use 5 nautical miles because when I first started playing this game, there was a real life Aztec who told me that that's what they use, and so I've always used it ever since, and it works pretty well for me. So every 5 nautical miles, I want to space out a buoy. Now, if I do it this way, if I put one buoy here, maybe put one in the center, maybe put one there, that basically kind of covers that swath, right? And that's only 3 buoys, but you kind of don't want to go cheap sometimes with the buoys, because, especially in this case, if you think about what's going on, if we put a buoy here, I can't see what's probably right on this edge that might be just creeping in soon. Versus if I put it right on the edge, then I get coverage out to here, so I can see guys trying to approach this to cross the line to get into an area to shoot me, so I kind of get more time to see them. But if I do that, then that means I need to have more buoys in here. So I think instead of using just like 3, maybe we'll do 4 or 5. I think 4, because these helicopters only hold, I think 11 sonobuoys or 12. Oh, I think it's 11 diefars, yeah. 11 diefars, 4 diecasts, which are the active sonobuoys. So, yeah, we'll do 1, 2, 3, and then, oops, 4. Let's not do that for the Astosin. Let's go ahead and set your course to turn to formation. There we go. Alright, so with the Lamplighters helicopters, so we've got 2 helicopters up. We can split the workload, right? Because if we had one helicopter spitting out all these buoys, it would simply take forever. Alright, we've got a contact that's just popped up, and they're obviously detected by our surface ships because none of these guys have buoys down just yet. So I'm going to divert this lamplighter guy to that contact, and we're gonna show a demonstration on how to use your sonobuoys if you do get a contact from the ship. And this whole time Magnus is going to start doing the sonobuoy layout. In fact, just to help us along here, we're going to put that there. So for the Magnus flight, they're going to take care of sonobuoys within this area. And so we can have them be intermittent, and we'll say, I want to have one here, I want to have one here. And I think it doesn't have to be perfect. What you think is like 5 nautical miles is fine. Okay, that's good enough for that one. And then also now, with the Astosin, we want to, oops. I keep moving this thing around on accident. I don't mean to do that. Okay, we got a couple minutes to launch the other one, so let's speed this up. And then he's going to launch that aircraft. Yep. Okay. So as that helicopter's launching, this one is on station. And who's getting contact here? So the Astosin's getting contact with its towed array. We know it's a hostile. We want to put a 53 on it. And it's at 390, so let's double check here. You always need to know your layer depth. That's always important. So 404 is the layer. They're at 390, so they're right above the layer. So we can make sure that we right click here and say above the layer. So any buoy we spit out, we want to make sure it's above the layer, unless we actually see the contact dipping below, which is possible. The way that the AI submarines work is they'll come near the surface. They might use their periscope or their ESM mast or something, but they also can cross the layer and take a peek below it or above it to try and find you. So if we see here, this sonobuoy was behind the guy, right? So as he's traveling on, this signal is going to get weaker and weaker and weaker. So the next thing we want to do is, it seems pretty obvious, is we want to put a sonobuoy in front of him, because this way we'll get more time of contact, so we can see him approaching it. So the signal, we maintain detection this whole time, and then even after he passes it, we maintain detection the whole time. So we get this whole distance of detection versus just having half of that if we put it behind him on purpose. So always kind of shy away from doing that. Obviously, these submarines are going to do whatever the heck they want, and they might not participate and go the same course that is beneficial to you. So keep that in mind. Don't feel bad if it doesn't work out, but aim to do that if you can. Okay, and now that we've got him kind of pinned and we know that he's a hostile, we can go ahead and try to drop an active buoy near him, and then we'll get the exact location he's at. Okay. So you can just use active buoys if you want, but the problem is you're not going to get any sort of classification on the submarine. So you don't know if it's a whale or not. If you have an unknown and you're dropping an active buoy on it, it's not anything to classify things with, so you don't get tonals or anything like that. So you're going to have to use your diefars first, and then you'll use your diecast to kind of get the exact position. If you're worried about something and you don't know what it is just yet, but you definitely want to know its range and bearing and stuff from you, then go ahead and drop a diecast first. But just know that you're not going to get your little sailors aren't going to be able to figure out if it's a whale or if it's a submarine. Straight off of the active information. Okay, so that's cooking. Let's get this other guy put into work. So same thing. He's just gonna drop maybe a buoy there, maybe a buoy here. Space that out. Now that might need a little bit more spacing. So this, yeah, like I said, this doesn't have to be perfect. And also, if you could imagine, we don't really have to cover maybe the center so much because we've also got our ships kind of driving down. They've got their sensors going as well. They're not active right now because just for the demonstration in this video, I didn't want to have them find stuff. But lo and behold, of course, the Astosan found something. Oh, also with the helicopters, you definitely want to keep tabs on if they fire 2 torpedoes at a time, they're going to go Winchester and they'll try to retreat back to their ship, but kind of stop them if you have sonobuoys because they're still pretty useful. Alright, and let's try to get him again. There you go, he wants their RTB. We'll have him stay on station. And we'll see. Oh, already got active contact over there. Okay, and then for Tucker, they've also got the dash, and obviously this is not going to drop any sonobuoys, but it's a good way to get another weapon out there. That Charlie 2 is running, so we want to get ahead of them. And this is a great reason why we want to keep our helicopters on station with the sonobuoys. He's going pretty slow actually. Normally they'll try to run as fast as possible, which makes them really loud, so that you can detect them longer. But this is probably going to work out really well. I think he's going to get clipped by this torpedo. There we go. Alright, so Lamplighter 2 is going to drop some sonobuoys. Let's go ahead and fly the dash out here and get to try to use that. Ideally, you're not going to continue building the pattern. Once you see a contact and it's near you, you're going to try and go after it. But I'm just going to show you kind of how this builds out. Oh, it looks like the Charlie's on the surface there, so we can go ahead and wow. Look at that, the helicopter's hovering right over there. That is funny. Let's use the Astosan. See if we can actually see that fire out there. Where is that fire? There it is. So the Charlie's over there. We're not going to use our harpoon because there are merchants around, and there's one kind of close actually. So I'm really worried that a harpoon would hurt this guy, not hurt the Charlie. So we'll use what is this, SM1? Yeah, SM1MR. We want to use that because there's a little radar beam that's being shot at this Charlie. Well, Charlie just sunk, so. Anyways, there was a radar beam fired at the Charlie, and this missile's just going to guide onto that radar beam. Now it's going to go to nothing because the Charlie's gone. So they're good. Let's go ahead and drop sonobuoys out on this guy now. Alright, so that sonobuoy picked up that submarine. We'll just put our sonobuoy in the center of that oval. And of course, we're always going to check the depth before we decide where to drop our sonobuoy. So we want to make sure that we're dropping above the layer. And we want to kind of get ahead of them if we can. And another good practice with your sonobuoys is to observe the ranges that you're picking them up at. So it looks like about from here 3 nautical miles I think we're picking him up. So that's pretty good. And we're going to see what he's doing when we pick him up. So he's going 5 knots. So that's really good too. He can be going slow, and it seems like our sonobuoy is passively picking him up at 5 knots. That'll help you when you're doing your spacing to kind of judge the effectiveness of it, if you have to make the spacing tighter or not, because when the weather picks up, you certainly aren't going to get these good ranges. I think this is sea state 3. If we go to the environment again, let's take a look. Yeah, sea state 3, and so it's relatively calm. It could be worse if it goes to 4 or 5, and once it goes to 5 or higher, you can get a lot of noise, and that's going to make it harder to detect things, and it can get to the point where your sonobuoys have to be basically right on top of the guy. So in those cases, when it's like that bad, really you should stick to your shipboard sensors to try and find the guy. Okay, so this should give us good understanding of where he is. He's right there. We can drop an active buoy kind of in front of him. Okay, and then we know he's hostile, so let's go ahead and fire a torpedo at him. Alright, he disappeared, so we're going to want to see where he's at. Disappeared when he went this way. Oh, there he is. You see that active return picked him up. That's pretty good. And the torpedo's coming right up his stern. Ooh, good hit. Bad news for him. Dash is also here. Let's have them chuck torpedoes. Don't do this in the real campaign or anything like that, because you're just going to be wasting weapons. For the tutorial though, and for one singular mission, go nuts. Fire all the torpedoes. Once again, we got to stop this guy because he has sonobuoys that he can still use. Oh, this guy is just going to get clobbered. Still going 10 knots. Oh man. Damn. That is brutal. Oh wow. That was crazy. Okay, well, I think we can go ahead and debrief this now that we killed all those submarines. So let's get back out of this. Hit the M button. And just go maximize it. So, if you don't know where you're going with the sonobuoys, figure out the swath size that you need and the direction of travel that you want to go, and then build it out with your helicopters that way. Now, if you had a P3, hopefully the circumstances are different, right? Some missions will actually give you a datum, so they'll say like, I know some will use 20 nautical miles as a datum, and that'll pop up while you're playing the mission, and they'll say, hey, there's a submarine somewhere in this 20-mile circle. So in that case, you can do the same thing, but now you've got just a smaller range. You don't have to keep building further out, but similar thing. I just space out 5, and then from there I might actually, depending on how the mission is, if there's an actual threat vector, I might build, for instance, if this was a datum here and then our ships are here, I would assume that the submarine, wherever he is going to try to go this way, right? So I would start building my pattern out this way, with a bias that he's probably going to be coming down towards these ships because he wants to sink them. So something like that to keep in mind. And when you do that, you don't necessarily have to, you don't have to fill this out 100%, right? Because the submarine, if they're maneuvering, eventually they will cross into one of these buoys. So I think 5 is good as a good starting point. If it's terrible weather, then maybe add some more. But if it's really terrible weather, you should probably use your ships first to try and get contact and use the helicopter to finish them off. Basically, how we handled that first submarine. So yeah, that's basically the 2 cases of using your sonobuoys. One is prosecuting a datum, and also same thing as if the ship had a contact and passed it off to the helicopter. You saw that all we really needed to do was drop 1 passive buoy to detect them initially and pick them up where the ship left them off, and then second passive sonobuoy, try to put it in front of them so that we can get longer detection, and then also keep in mind what side of the layer that guy was on. And of course we put the active sonobuoy down just so we can figure out exactly where he's going, and that'll also help you when he starts to run around and go crazy from being shot at by a torpedo. And after you get that active buoy down, then go ahead and fire a torpedo or 2 at it. Remember, you can't classify contacts with an active buoy. That can only be done passively. So you run the risk if you just use the active sonobuoys, because they're kind of like a big, I wouldn't say cheat, but something like along those lines. They basically tell you exactly what's going on with that sub if it's in range, but it can't tell you what it is. So you run the risk of shooting a whale. If you don't care about whales, then go nuts. But you certainly should care about wasting the torpedoes in the game, because eventually even in some campaigns now, you've got weapon counts that carry over, and so you don't have an infinite amount of torpedoes that you can chuck at stuff. And then of course this guy down here was a different case where we were building out our pattern, and we spaced them out, kind of split it up in sectors, so we had different helicopters luckily being able to work different sections. So you can see how far they got out ahead of us from the task force. Now they're 30 miles ahead, and we've got this covered on this side 30 nautical miles out. If there's a submarine in here, we're definitely going to see it. And then we got distracted here, but this is what we're doing. We're constantly building out this formation of sonobuoys, and we actually tripped over the Charlie that was hiding in here, and it was because we had this pattern laid out that we found him. We saw him a little bit when we were attacking this other guy, I think, but to really actually get the contact, we dropped the sonobuoy right here as we built our pattern out, and you saw we caught him at like 3 nautical miles or something like that. So you can see here, this does work. It can work different ways, and it's pretty simple. It's just draw out the torpedo range from each extreme of your formation, draw lines that parallel your course that you want to drive, and now you got a big area that you need to make sure the submarine's not in. And you don't necessarily have to do that with your helicopter. You can just do that with your ships first, and then your helicopters can help. But them doing it out in front of the ships obviously makes it safer for the ships to traverse and gives you a better idea of what's out there waiting for you. So I hope that helped. I think we talked a lot about helicopter stuff also, and I might have gone through that before my other tutorial, but they go hand in hand really. There's not too much to it. It's not like a magic thing. It's pretty simple. Put down the sonobuoys where you need to clear out and make sure there's no submarine. If you don't catch the submarine and it's not a mission requirement to kill the submarine, maybe it's a mission requirement to just cross the finish line, like the last mission in the Molnia campaign, then that's good. If there's no submarine there, screw it. You don't need to bother and try and find the damn submarine, because you're gonna go nuts trying to find them, especially if they're not set up to engage you. If they were, and you've done something like this, you'll probably run into them and kill them. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Get to them as soon as possible. And also, like I said in the other tutorial videos, if you have a topic that you want me to kind of talk about or teach to, please put that down in the comments, and I'll consider it if it makes sense, and I can make a video on it and then share it with everybody. So thank you guys for all the support, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.